Here with Coach Brady. Coach, you guys have your final regular season game going on the road to Houghton to the UP to play Michigan Tech on Saturday at noon. What does preparation look like for the Huskies this week?
Yeah, obviously going and playing a really quality opponent. They're tough, especially at home, and their coaching staff does a great job. And so, really big test. This will be our third really tough test in a row here. And so we want to go out and finish, put our seniors on top this week. And so the guys have had good spirits. Obviously, tough loss last week. Right down to the wire and double overtime. And so, but really, we had a great practice today, great energy, and the guys had a lot of fun. And so, this team is they've built up some scars throughout the season, and they've learned how to handle some of these tough situations well. And so, I've been impressed with their preparation so far this week.
You mentioned the game last week. That segues into what I was going to ask. You had two freshman guys kind of make not really debuts, but get a lot of playing time last week. One of them on the defensive side, Corlew, who got a big pick to start that game and also got a fumble recovery. He played really well. And then your running back, Cornell Beard, got some time, also played really well. Just how impactful was it for you to get some of those freshman guys to come in and step into a role and play well?
Yeah, Trace played outstanding. I mean, what a burden he had to put on his shoulders to go out there and start, at free safety against Fair State's offense, and their offense is very difficult to defend. A lot of motions, a lot of shifts, which is a check nightmare if you're a defensive back. And he did phenomenal, graded out at 85%. And obviously you talked about he had a pick, and he graded out as the highest graded DB in the room last week. And so, kudos to Trace. Trace played fantastic, defended, one of the most dynamic slots in the nation. And so he really played well. And then obviously Cornell came in the second half after J-Mo got banged up. And really, he did a nice job running the football and made a couple plays, hurdled the guy, and, really got everybody on their feet. And then another guy's Ty Robertson, redshirt freshman, got his first start and played fantastic. Had a couple TFLs and really had a huge impact on the game. But, yeah, those guys, it's that time of the year. You get guys banged up, and there's new opportunities. I think we were down 12 DBs here since the start of the season. So, that's been a challenge all season. So it's just kind of been next man up. And Trace was the next man up. So we brought him up from the scout team, and he came and had a great week of preparation. And, and he played really well, And so definitely really proud of those guys. We do have some great young players in this program, and we've had many great young players for the last couple of years, Mason McKenzie being the GLIAC Freshman Player of the Year last year, Terrence Brown the year before. And so we are young. We've got a lot of young guys out there on the field. We've built this thing with high school kids. And so we've recruited a lot of high school kids. We're developing high school kids. And, that process takes time. And so we're going through the ups and the downs and the peaks and the valleys of a long season. And, it's exciting, when we're playing at the level we played at on Saturday. We just got to make sure that we continue to play at that level every single week. And that's just kind of where, we faltered this season a little bit, as we have not played at the level that we played Grand Valley and Ferris State every single week of the season. And so, and then people, they perceive us in that category. And that's what I told the kids. You've got to look at yourself and understand what other people think of you, and you're getting their best shot. And so, and we'll get Michigan Tech's best shot, because that's all Michigan Tech knows, is how to give their best. And so I'm totally expecting Michigan Tech to play their best football game of the season. And they have a lot at stake. Senior day for them, last home game. Their playoff hopes are still open. We're all playing for second place in the GLIAC here. So definitely a lot at stake.
Your defense forces 6 turnovers last week. I had a turnover on downs as well. Traveling, usually they say defense travel. So how important is that unit going to be to, like you said, Michigan Tech's a really tough opponent. They play really tough football. So how big is that unit going to be for you this weekend?
Yeah, defense is critically. I mean, we got to play, defense wins championships, and obviously, to me, whenever you cross the bridge heading up into the UP, I always like to tell the kids, hey, you're down 10-0. It's a long trip, and it's weird things happen up there in the UP. So you got to play great. You got to go up there and play great. And you've got to play really disciplined football. And Michigan Tech's got some playmakers. They got a pair of quarterbacks that are dual threat guys that can fly around, and they use their legs really well. And They have two of the top receivers statistically in the GLIAC out on the field, and one that's played a lot of football in the GLIAC, so he's a huge threat, and then they just do a great job, coaching their group up. They're tough, they're physical, they're disciplined, and so we're going to have to play great football this weekend. We're going to have to play really clean, and we're going to have to take care of the football, and obviously the conditions look like it's going to be nice and maybe 50 degrees, but they're talking about maybe 50-mile-an-hour winds, so that could definitely play a huge factor in the game in terms of the kicking game.
You mentioned Terrence Brown winning Freshman of the Year a couple years ago. He did that as the running back. He transitioned to wide receiver this season. What have you seen from him from a growth standpoint of a guy who switches positions in the middle of his collegiate career and excels in that second position?
Yeah, wow, he's did a great job. Antoine Mason deserves a lot of credit for that transformation. We started that process last winter, in January when we got into winter conditioning and moved him over to that side of the ball and worked him into spring ball and through summer, and he just gradually just got better and better and better. And once he learned like what he needed to do, his confidence just grew and grew and grew. And so he's had an outstanding season here, and he's a great football player. And I'm just really happy for him and the success that he's had. And we're hoping he can go out here and have one more big one, this weekend. And last time we were up there in 23, he had a big game. And so we're going to need him to have another one this Saturday.
Another guy just for you with Mason McKenzie, just talk about his growth this season. You work directly with the quarterbacks a lot, being a former quarterback yourself. Just what have you seen from Mason throughout now that he's gotten almost 2 full seasons of starting, just his growth?
Yeah, he played his best game of the season last week against Ferris. I was really proud of him for that. And he put in probably his best week of preparation. And so, there's a correlation between the preparation that you put in and the results that you're looking to get. And so for him, he really took pride in his film study and taking notes and really just putting in that extra work last week. And that was the same thing with Trace Corlew. And, the guys that played the best in the game were the guys that put the most in throughout the week. And so that was the message to the team on Sunday is, hey, here was our best performers, and here's why they were our best performers. And so, it's just a good lesson to learn for everybody in the program, especially our young guys, and understanding what it takes to compete at the highest level. And we were competing at the highest level last Saturday, and we need to compete at that level again this weekend.
A lot of times, a lot of teams talk about winning that last game of the regular season and how it can propel you, how it could probably propel you going forward. You had an opportunity, like you said, Trace Corlew and some of those young guys to really show that, they're ready to play and moving forward, they're going to have successful careers. So, the last question I got for you is just how important is it for you and your program to just win this last game and kind of put an exclamation point on the end of the season?
Yeah, obviously we're playing for a winning season, so obviously we want to go and send our seniors out as winners. I mean, obviously my mindset is on our seniors. This has been a great senior class. These are great guys. They've been through a lot. These guys have been here, some of them since 2020, some of them since 2021, and they've been through it all and been through a lot of big victories. And been through some tough, heartbreaking losses, and so definitely want to see those seniors go out on top. And you're absolutely right. End of the season victory can definitely propel you and give you a lot of momentum into the off season. But we know that we're going to have to go earn it. Tech's not going to lay down for us. They know we're coming up to them, and they know what we have and what we're capable of, and we're going to get their best. I know that. I know Coach Metlack well. He's a good friend, and I know the job that him and his staff do, and they will be ready to play.